right, so today we are going to make soap, cold processed soap. You'll hear people talk about lye soap or grandma soap, that kind of thing. So we're going to make some cold processed soap. There's a couple of things that you need before you get started that you have to have. You need 3 plastic containers. This is what I initially bought when I first started. I would probably go with a heavier duty. You need a good mixing bowl, plastic. I would probably go with a little bit larger one if I were buying again. And then this is my mixing bowl. So we've got these. You need plastic or silicone spatulas and a whisk. You don't want to use aluminum with lye. Lye is sodium hydroxide. It is dangerous. Normally I wouldn't recommend making soap or working with lye with a child. Cora is our safety child. She had a safety whistle when she was 2 years old. So she's been making soap with me for 3 or 4 years. She knows the safety precautions, stay away from this. We've both got gloves on, long sleeves, and eye protection. And it really is important. We're in a pretty large room, so we don't have to worry about the smell, but the smell is pretty strong. You'll see when we add the water to the lye, it starts smoking immediately, letting off vapors. It gets real hot. If these lye crystals get on your skin, it will burn you. So that out of the way, be careful. It is dangerous. So we are going to be working with the lye, and what makes the soap process is lye and fat or oil. So, back in the day of Granny off of Beverly Hillbillies, she used lye made from ashes with animal fat. So today we are going to be using olive oil, fractionated coconut oil, which is just a liquid form of the coconut oil, and palm oil. Those are my 3 favorite oils in the combination with the lye. But it's really important to use a lye calculator. It is a scientific method in the amount of oil versus the amount of lye. The oil neutralizes the lye. You have to have enough oil to neutralize that lye. Your soap is going to be hot. It's going to burn you. So that's really important. You also can do what's called super fat. I always super fat my soap recipes by 5%. Now, here's the great things. I don't have this memorized. I do have the formula written down, so if I ever have to do it by pen and paper, I can. But the great thing is, summerbmeadow.com has a great calculator. So you type in the mold, the size of the mold you're going to use, you type in the oils you're going to use, and it tells you how much lye and how much water you need to neutralize the oils. And then you can also put, like, I want to super fat this by 5%, and it will tell you, it'll calculate that for you. So I have it written down here so I don't have to calculate it each time. So I've already got my lye weighed out here. We are also going to add beeswax to our soap, and beeswax does add. You can actually research each one of these oils, and every oil adds some kind of characteristic to the soap. One's bubbly, one's conditioning. This is antibacterial, antimicrobial, and it adds moisture using beeswax. So I have come up with this recipe here that I really like. I like the results of it. And then I'm going to add lemon essential oil to it to give it a scent. I have not used a lot of fragrances, but I do use essential oils. People have asked if the properties come out of the essential oils in the soap, and they say really by the time it goes through the process that you don't get a lot of the benefits, but you do get a nice smell. So we're going to use the lemon today, and we are going to color it with some mica. So we'll kind of go through that. So
what was the name of the coloring?
A mica. You can use a mica or a clay. Clay are more natural. Mica is a man-made product, so but I like it. Don't use too much. I did make a blue soap once, and we had people saying that they kind of felt like Papa Smurf when they used it. So it will color your washcloths and come off in the shower. So, but we're going to kind of get to that. So right now we are going to make the olive oil, coconut oil, palm oil, beeswax, and beeswax is an oil with the lemon flavor. So let's go ahead and get started. So we've got our 8.66 lye, and if you will come around here so they can see the scale. So everything is by weight, so you need a scale when you're going to be making soap. And you can see here I've got 0 pounds and 0 ounces. So I've got to put this on here, and then I'm gonna what they call tare it. So it's just real easy. You just hit the on button and it goes to 0. So I'm gonna add 20.2 ounces of water. You do have to use distilled water. You don't want to use water that if you have city water, that kind of thing, because there can be minerals and chemicals in there that will react. So you want to go with distilled. And so I'm gonna go with 20.2 ounces, which is gonna be 1 pound, 4.2 ounces. And I keep this jug here and I label it for soap only because sometimes I have to pour back into it. Okay. And so I've got that. It's really important. You want to pour the lye into the water. You don't want to pour the lye or the water into the lye. So I've got this. You can see that I'm keeping it at arm's distance, and I'm going to very carefully go ahead and do this. We want to go ahead and do this because this is going to heat up, and it's going to take it a little while to cool down before we can add it to our oils. You also want to make sure that you have room temperature water. You don't ever want to do it with warm water. I'm going to take this immediately and put it in the sink and put some water in it to get rid of any extra lye that I might have. All right, so you can see that that's already reacting, and I'm just going to give it a stir because it'll make like a crust on the bottom. Can you see the fumes or the steam coming off of it?
It's smoking pretty good now.
Okay, so I think it's pretty much, I don't feel any more on the bottom, so we're just going to kind of leave that, and we'll start mixing our oils. It takes 1 ounce of beeswax for 5 pounds of soap, which is what we're making today, and 5 pounds is the amount of all the oils and everything that goes into it. If you add too much beeswax, it's going to mess with your trace. It's going to make it trace too quickly. So you don't want to add too much, but I do like to add this. So we're going to go ahead. I've got water boiling over here in a double boiler, so I'm just going to drop this beeswax in there so it can start melting. So there's that. So we're going to go with 24.7 ounces olive oil. So that will be 1 pound, 8 ounces. I'm gonna pour that in there. We will have to still heat up one of these oils because we can't add the melted beeswax in with cold oils, or immediately solidify, and you'll get chunks of beeswax in your soap instead of it being completely smooth and incorporated into the soap. Okay, this is olive oil. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in here, and I'm going to heat this one. So that way when that beeswax is melted, we'll have, it can go directly into this one. And I do use a microwave for this. If you are ever microwaving beeswax, don't do it in glass. It can break your glass, so I do plastic. We're going to start with 1 minute, and then we'll go with another minute. I need to clear out my scale again, if you can see, because there is a little bit of oil, of the olive oil left in here, and so I want to make sure that that is not calculated with how much coconut oil. So I'm going to tare it again, and now I'm going to add the coconut oil. 1 pound and 8 ounces also. Or if you'll go ahead and open that one. All right, so we're gonna go with 8 on here.
You only put that in for more, Mama?
I'm gonna stir that came out of the microwave.
Get it out?
No, not yet. And when you first get started, you might need to check the temperature, but I can tell this is not hot enough. Again, it's got to be hot enough at that beeswax melted temperature that it's not going to immediately cool down the beeswax as soon as it hits that oil. So let's put that in for another minute. We'll go ahead and measure out our essential oil. I keep one of these glass jars. I do it in glass because sometimes essential oils don't do well in plastic. And I just keep the same one. I put a paper towel in it when I get done. And so we're gonna put it on here. Again, we're gonna tare it 0. We are gonna put about, let's go with 2 ounces in here, okay? So I'm gonna pour it quick because I don't want it to pour down on here. We're at 1.5. We're gonna go with that. I think that's a decent amount. 1.7 in weight.
I can smell it.
Yeah, I love the lemon. Okay, so I am done with my scale for now. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off and set it to the side just to conserve my batteries. I'm gonna come back over here with the olive oil that's heating and check the temperature on it. Oh yeah, it's getting pretty warm now. So I am going to go ahead and stir it and get a temp on it. Okay, I think that's good. So we'll wait for this beeswax. It is almost done, and we'll put it in this olive oil and stir it up, and then we'll add the coconut oil. Then we have a little bit of a waiting time that we've got to go through to get to let the oils and the lye cool back down where they're cool enough to work. If you work them and they're too hot, it can, I've actually had some that'll bubble up and get like a lava effect. I had to put it in the freezer real quick, dropped it going into the freezer, so then I had this green goo soap running out to my freezer that I had to clean up. So just practice patience, which is kind of hard for me because I want to get it done and be done with it. So just practice patience if you can do that. So we're waiting for that. And then we'll talk about trace. Trace is really important, and I think it will help seeing it on the video, but trying to figure out what trace is, that's when you're mixing this, and we're going to mix it with an immersion blender. You can find these pretty cheap. John got me one when I started making soap for Christmas one year. This is a really nice one. They'll last for years. If you don't have this, you start mixing this with a, what do you call those? The whisk. It takes, I mean, it could take you 20 minutes to reach trace. Where you're going to see with this, you're looking at 30 seconds to a minute and you're at trace. So what trace is, you're mixing the oils with the lye, and it gets to a point, it has to get to trace before you can pour it. And trace is almost like a pudding. You pick it up, you pick up your utensil, and it leaves a trace of stuff behind that kind of stays up on top. You'll see this when we go through it, but it has to reach trace. You don't want it to go beyond because then it turns into mashed potatoes. You want it to be just perfect. The problem is when you add essential oils or beeswax, it makes it reach trace quicker, which is a little bit of a problem. You have to really kind of learn to work with it, and you have to be pretty quick. Also, in adding your color, you have to be pretty quick or it'll start setting up on you. So the other thing that is helpful to have is 90% alcohol. I'm almost out, so I need to make sure I get it. But what this does is once you get your soap poured, you'll see this later, if you don't spray this, sometimes as the soap is going through the process, that the top of it will, it'll turn gray. It reacts with oxygen, and so you'll have this ash looking stuff on top of your soap. If you spray alcohol on the top of your soap about 10 minutes after you pour it, that'll prevent that from happening. So there's that. All right, so our beeswax is melted, so we are going to immediately take that and pour it in. Cora, grab my whisk for me, please. set this over here. Some fuzz. But I don't want the soap. Alright. So I'm going to grab this.
Is it hot?
I imagine it probably is. And I'm going to stir this and get that beeswax. So I want that beeswax really incorporated in the oil so it does not turn to a solid. So looks like we hit that temperature correctly. I don't see anything floating, and you would immediately see little chunks of beeswax in there. But I think we are good. So I'm gonna turn this off.
So had your hot liquid out of the microwave been at a cooler temperature when the beeswax hit it, the beeswax would have solidified and that would have made the chunks you're talking about.
Chunks of beeswax, yeah.
At that point, let's say that the folks watching do that. Let's say it happened. They didn't get it just right. Both substances can go back in the microwave. You got a problem.
Yeah, you know, I've not done that. The only time that happened to me, I continued through because I thought, well, you know, maybe when it goes through the process and saponifies through the cold process, that it gets to a hot enough temperature that the beeswax would turn back. It doesn't. It stays chunks. So I've not tried to reheat it. That might work. I don't know why it wouldn't, but I've not tried that. So I'm gonna go ahead and add our coconut oil to this. Just pouring it in there, and that's gonna kind of cool it.
Do you have to worry about it going into chunks now that you've mixed
No.
it?
Once it's mixed in with that oil, it will not turn back to solid. That's a good question, Cora. Okay, so I've got that in there. And I want to show you on our lye. If you remember when you first saw it, it was pretty gray looking, and you can see now that it's getting clear. Once you start making soap, you will quit getting the looking at the temperature of it, and you'll be able to tell by the feel of it. That's still pretty hot. You kind of want your oils to be at the same temperature. This is still cooler, but don't ever use the lye water if it's still gray. It needs to be clear. We're gonna let that set for a few minutes. You can touch the outside right there. Now feel this, and this is cooler. So I'm gonna go ahead. This is where I move over there, closer to the blender, and so I'm gonna go ahead and take this over here while we're waiting. You want everything right here in your working space when you start adding and mixing stuff together, because it happens pretty quickly. And we can look at our molds. So this is a silicone mold. You can use a shoebox and line it with freezer paper. You can use a Pringles can. You can really use about anything. John is pretty handy. He's constantly making me stuff, and he made me, it wasn't this mold, it was a different mold, but it was a wooden mold. And every time I would take it and I'd cut the freezer paper and I would tape it, you can see that there's still blue tape here. Then I found this mold. Silicone molds are really nice because you don't have to mess with the freezer paper. He built the mold to go with it. It just slides right down in there. The other thing is you want your soap to stay at a good hot temperature when it's going through the process after you put it in here. So the silicone and then the wood really insulates it nicely. He also made me a lid. I use these popsicle sticks to prop my lid up a little bit higher. What I have found is sometimes during the process, it's like the soap swells a little bit and it might come up, and it was getting stuck to the top of my lid. Well, then when I went to go cut it the next day, there would be chunks on it in here and it would just not make for pretty soap. So we've got this. I'm also going to grab one other mold.
Here's your spoon.
Okay, hang on just a second. We'll talk about spoons.
Did you get the spoon? Good job.
I always seem to have some extra soap left over, and you don't want it to go to waste. So I have these molds here. We've got these in the store. I love these round silicone molds. You can find them in plastic. My opinion, don't waste your time in plastic. I've used plastic and I had to cut it apart to get my soap out. The mold was ruined and the soap was not pretty. So I keep these silicones. Cora's also got another one. So any extra soap that I have, I'm going to pour in here too.
I know these.
Well, that's cool.
And this is a new mold that I've just gotten. Turn it that way and they can kind of see on the other side what it's going to look like. I've not tried this, so I'm kind of excited about it too.
That one's pretty.
Now you're going to mix the contents in the pour pitcher into the lye.
We're going to pour the lye in here.
Okay.
Yep. And you want a kind of a narrow where this is deep, where your blender is down in that soap. What happens if you have a shallow bowl, you incorporate bubbles. So we're going to go ahead and get this ready as we continue to cool down. Yep. And we're going to put a heaping tablespoon. You kind of just learn as you go about how much color you want. And real easily put it in there. Yep, so it doesn't fluff. Nope, that's probably perfect. And go ahead and just put it in one spot. Yep, so that way we can mix it up nicely. And two, once you start using something for soap, that's what it's going to be used for. Just keep it. You can tell I use different colors here. Show them your gloves. Yeah, this stuff, it's got some sparkle in it. It doesn't come off, so. All right, so I can see here. That's okay, just set it up there. So right now, just to kind of give you an idea, it looks like we are still at, maybe a little less than 125.
What does it need to
on the oils. Somewhere between 100 or a little bit more, but you want them about the same temperature. And it looks like the lye is still a little bit hotter.
Can I feel them?
It is about 140. So it's getting there. All right, so now we're just going to kind of wait. We'll kind of go through. I'll tell you some different fragrances I use. One of my favorite is lemongrass lavender. Which we're beekeepers and we tend to have lemongrass. I like the lemon smells. It just smells clean to me. But lemongrass lavender, I'm not a big lavender fan, but lavender combines real well to different smells. So lemongrass lavender is one of my favorite. Mint, I really like the mint. John is not a fan of mint. I really like it, and I like to add the mint and the lavender because it kind of calms down the mint, so it's really nice. I like lemon. I like eucalyptus, especially through the winter season. If you've got any kind of cold or stuffy nose or something like that, that eucalyptus in the shower really makes a difference. The mint does too, so I really like it. We're going to work quickly. I'm going to pour this, we're going to pour the lye in here. We're going to start getting that to trace. What I will probably do at that point is pour in more into about half into here. We're going to start mixing that up. I'll let Cora start mixing it. Then I'm going to add the lemon to what I have left in here. It's all going in the same mold, so we'll still get that fragrance. But sometimes when you add this, it makes that trace and it starts setting up real quick. So I don't want to do that too quickly, and I want you to be able to see the trace. I would recommend the first time you make soap, don't use beeswax and don't add this. Just make a small batch. So that way you can kind of get used to working with it and how it's going to go before you kind of have to mash potatoes on your hands. So we're going to go ahead and very gently, let me go grab that red over there.
What am I mixing with?
That red. And remember, when I pour it in there, you're going to have to real gently scrape that up so that yellow comes up. All right, so here we go. Cora, you might back up just a little. We're going to real gently because I do not want
Have you ever gotten it on you?
I have gotten it on me, just a little spurt. But you can see it's already changing colors. I'm going to go ahead and stick that in the sink. And I'm going
It's
to
like gray.
twirl it just a little to get that mixed in
So
a little. And then I'm going to start using my immersion blender, and you will see how quickly it happens. If you are using a whisk, do not expect to see this quick. I am only going to use low because it happens so quickly. You can see the color already changing.
Whoa.
It happens really quickly. Kind of move it around. You don't want to bring the blender up because you do not want to while it's running. You don't want to get air in that soap at all, or it will stay. You'll get bubbles in there. You'll stay. Okay, I'm going to be real careful because this is going to. See how that's staying on top when I move it, and it's kind of like pudding. That's pretty much a trace. So I'm going to start.
That's good,
I want to
right?
get the rest of this. And right now, it is the perfect consistency that I like working with. All right, Cora, get ready. I'm going to add some in about half into hers so she can start mixing in that color. So if you'll start mixing it, I'm going to hand mix the lemon over here. Did you see that lemon go in? We are moving too fast for our cameraman here. We've got two people
happening at once.
We've got 4 hands and 1 cameraman. So I just want that lemon oil completely incorporated in this soap. Okay, so you can see this. This is perfect. I'm going to go add 1 layer in my mold.
Do you go back and
Like
forth
that.
with the color?
And then I'm going to help Cora a little, and we're just going to make sure that that comes off
There's
the bottom.
some over here on the edges.
And if there's too many, it's okay to have chunks of color in there. If you have too many, that color will come out when you're using the bar of soap. So it doesn't have to be perfect. I kind of like
air
some
bubble in
chunks. Yeah.
It's like an orange.
And I'll tell you, if you're making soap for your family, they will cull what the bad stuff. They'll want the good stuff. They know when it's not the way it should be. Okay, so you might get over here on my right, babe. So I've got another layer in there. I'm gonna stir this one again.
And don't we whisk it at the end?
We're gonna use the spoons. And so I'm just gonna, so you can see I'm layering this like this. Not really in any specific fashion. I'm gonna go again.
Will it keep its layers?
Well, it will until I start mixing. Okay, I want to keep a little bit of color because I'm gonna have some left over. And if you use all your color now, you won't have any for those little round things that I showed you. My hands are getting slippery.
How high do you want to fill it?
Well, up to maybe 1/4 from the top. We're not gonna have just a whole lot left. We did some pretty good measuring.
Break all that out of that bottom.
Well, I'm gonna use it on my other stuff there too. Let's see how close we are. So you're just gonna kind of very gently smooth this out. Kind of want that. Get it in the corners. And that looks pretty good. I don't really want to get it any higher. So I'm gonna stop right here and grab.
Can you shake?
This new.
Can you shake the box down like, you know,
We're-
make it vibrate it? And then
Yep, we're gonna pat it and get all the air bubbles, but I really don't want it any taller because I've ordered these soap boxes and the soap boxes are a little bit shorter, so I don't wanna have to cut too much off the top of my bar. So when you are doing these, you really have to make sure you get it down in those cracks.
Will your stuff, will it set up on you?
It will,
Or you have to go fast?
yes. That's what I say when it looks like mashed potatoes is when it's set up too quick. This is working perfectly. All right, so I'm gonna kind of, even if this is a little bit over, you can always shave it off tomorrow. I'm gonna show you how to. But I really want all those holes and indentions.
Are you gonna make
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add this back on here. We're gonna smooth it out, but you know, we don't want any of this to go to waste. Of course, see if you can get all of it scraped off there.
Your thing is too slippery.
Yeah. Your hands, you can start getting oil everywhere. Okay, that is pretty good. Okay, so you can see why my mold is such a mess, because when you start working with it, you have some more to go on here.
You want to get off that
Yep.
spoon?
The great thing is, that's kind of fun about soap, is you're starting this today. You don't cut it till tomorrow. So really, you don't know what the inside's gonna look, kind of make the tops pretty because this is gonna be the top of your soap. So, all right, so we've got it like this. Now, you can leave it like this, but I kind of like to do a little swirl in there where it kind of mixes those colors. So I'm gonna take this spoon. It's great because it's got that hole. You can use anything. I've used wooden skewers, but something with a little bit of width helps. And we're just gonna kind of,
Can I use some?
we're just gonna make swirls.
It's turning into mashed potatoes.
I know, we gotta work pretty quick because it is starting to set up, you can tell.
Because there's bubbles.
But you also are adding a little bit of air in when you do this. And I just kind of swirl it. Like Bob Ross, pretty little tree here, a little swirl there. You think people know who Bob Ross is?
I would think so.
All right, I always feel like I'm doing too much and it's gonna end up being one color. I have never done too much. It usually is like, oh, I wish I would have done more swirls.
It's
You
breathing.
can kind of go like this.
Will those
Okay.
bubbles be there?
So now I'm gonna come back, smooth it back out a little, kind of make it pretty. Okay, and then now I want to make sure all the air's out. So I'm gonna just kind of bounce this, not too much. You don't want any to splatter up in your face, but just see. Usually I see some air popping. I think maybe there's gonna be one popping here. Anybody seen any bubbles pop up yet?
That was about to
And then
pop
one
out.
right there.
When will that one pop?
I think that's just soap.
Do you see me?
Right here, maybe. Right there.
How long do you normally have to do this
Okay,
for?
so that's probably pretty good. I'm gonna show you one more thing. I'm gonna kind of set that out of the way. And then we're gonna scrape this off.
Can you put in the other one? And make a tiny one?
Hmm.
Come on, can you?
Nah, nobody likes
I
the
do.
tiny soaps.
Can I make a tiny one then? Mama.
All right, Cora wants this right here. She's gonna make, that's gonna be her soap. Y'all heard her say. So tomorrow she won't use this. All right, we're gonna kind of bounce this one cause make sure it doesn't have air.
Oh, I saw one pop.
Did you?
Yeah.
So we're gonna let that set for a minute because we're gonna come back and spray it with alcohol. It has to set for 24 hours. Don't bother it, don't disturb it. It has to set for 24 hours before we cut it. So we will cut it tomorrow so that way you can see how it turned out, kind of see what the swirl did. We'll also talk about some good books that I have read that really helped me, some pictures and things like that. If you're interested, you might grab those. So usually at this point, I start kind of getting my stuff together while I'm waiting. And I just wash all this. I don't use soap. I just rinse it real good with water and turn it upside down, let it dry, and then I've got a place, a shelf in my pantry that I keep it all. This I will leave sitting out with the lid on. We'll cut it tomorrow. Everything else will be up and out of the way.
At what point maybe I missed it, at what point are we gonna put the lid on?
After I spray it with the alcohol, so
Are you kind of waiting on a
you wait.
specific time before you're gonna?
You wait about 10 minutes. So
Can I spray it when it's ready?
we'll go ahead and spray.
Well, I'm not rushing you, we just,
Yeah. Well, if you want to come over and all you're doing, this is not adding anything to the soap. It's going to evaporate off, but all you're doing is preventing oxygen to react to the soap. So we're just going to cover it with like an alcohol spray to prevent that from happening. If you don't want to do this, it is not a big deal. You may see like a white ashy spot on the soap, but that's really what you're looking at here. I just don't like the looks of it.
Tiny one.
So you can see here, just getting a good coating on it. That's it.
Can I
Let
spray
it set
these?
for a minute. Go ahead and spray those tiny.
Is that good?
Yep, doesn't take much. And then I'm gonna set
You missed the
these
spot.
on like that. One
I
here.
can smell it.
Yeah, you can smell
So,
it.
all right, so that's an air gap.
It just
The
raises.
soap's going to swell sometimes, and that's going to prevent it sticking to your lid, and then when you pull the lid off, ruining the appearance of the soap.
Right, and so that's what I do is just add just a little bit. That just seems to be enough to keep it from sticking on here. So I'm gonna close this
Are
up.
you missing some for the other side?
Okay, there's that. I'm gonna kind of just set it up over here out of the way. So as we continue with life over the next 24 hours, it's not in the way. This will still burn you. So until it goes through that, what they call saponification, which is where the soap word comes from, this will still burn you. So if you, as you're cleaning up your stuff, if you touch it with your hands, it'll burn you. So just keep your safety glasses on, your gloves, get it cleaned up. Then tomorrow when we're cutting, as long as you got enough oils to neutralize the lye, you're good. So we will see you tomorrow when we cut this open. All right, so it has been 24 hours since we poured up our soap yesterday. So first we will go ahead and get this one little bar right here. We kind of want to, you can feel it turning loose. We want to make sure that none stays in the, see, or how'd it turn out?
Oh, that's nice.
Let's see. Oh yeah, that looks
You
good.
can see the actual color. It's a little
Smells
uneven.
good.
And
All right.
the bees turned out.
So we've got 2 different batches here. We went ahead and made another batch yesterday. This was a smaller batch. We used 3 colors in it. And it may not be quite ready. It still seems pretty liquidy. So we'll go ahead and do this other one.
This is the one
Here.
we made.
Now just kind of take this and flip it out. Gravity will do its job. And
Pull this in.
we're going to put it like this. And we kind of want to just push it up because you really can indent it or dent it.
Because it's still not set up all the way.
Pretty soft. And then John built me this here to cut it, and so we'll cut a couple of bars. That way you can see. And we've got 2 different cutters. We've got a straight cutter and then a wavy, and you just kind of depends on what you like. So we will start right here and get it. We want it to be nice and
Straight.
there we go. You can see there. We'll cut a couple of wavy ones so you can see that. I kind of like the wave. It gives it a little bit of extra texture. You don't have to have a soap cutter. It just makes it where you can cut your bars nice and square. John's world he likes to live in is square. He usually likes to cut the soap instead of me, so that way he knows that it's square. So that's all there is to it, and you can see kind of the different colors in it, what it's going to look like, and it'll be different all the way around. You can see here. These are still real soft. There's still a lot of moisture in them. We let them set for about 3 weeks, and a lot of the moisture will come out of it. You can weigh the soap, and it'll actually lose weight, and you'll know that the moisture's out of it. It won't hurt you to go ahead and use it now. What it does is that the soap will just wash away quicker. So the longer it dries, the longer it's going to stay in the shower. So it's completely up to you. It's good to go now. There's no risk of burn. The lye is completely neutralized by the oils. So if you want to go ahead and grab a bar, use it, or let it set for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, that kind of thing. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you'll start making some soap.